We've already done that.
We just need to reconvene.
Okay, I'm going to reconvene and start with the consent agenda. Thank you.
Item number 1, consider approving the August 10th, 2023 business session minutes. Item number 2, consider approving the reappointment of Richard Boshier, 1st District Representative to the Consolidated Fire District Number 2 through August 25th, 2026. Item number 3, consider approving and submitting the Johnson County Department of Corrections SFY 2023 year-end outcome report to the Kansas Department of Corrections as recommended by the Community Corrections Advisory Board on August 1st, 2023. Item number 4, consider approving and submitting the Johnson County Department of Corrections Juvenile Services SFY 2023 year-end outcome report to the Kansas Department of Corrections Juvenile Services as recommended by the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board on August 11th, 2023. And item number 5, consider approving the inclusion of specific county-owned properties in the application of City of Olathe to rezone the downtown area of the City of Olathe from Commercial District to Downtown Core District, and authorize the chair to execute the ownership affidavit and consent. The City of Olathe desires to rezone several properties in the downtown area, including specific county properties, from Commercial District C2 to Downtown Core District D, to align with the goals and vision of the city's Envision Downtown Plan.
We just started with consent.
So, Chair, you may want to review item number 3, 4, and 5.
Thank you. Give me a second, please. All right, item number 3. Is Rachel Mastad here? Hi, Rachel, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay, well, let's take up item number 3 first. I know we've got 2 with you.
Yes, excellent. Good afternoon. Rachel Mestad with the Department of Corrections. And I am here today seeking approval for the state fiscal year 2023 adult and year-end outcome report for the submission to the Kansas Department of Corrections. This was approved by our Community Corrections Advisory Board on August 1st, 2023. The year-end outcome report serves as the final report detailing the progress made towards our goals and objectives. This must be approved by the Community Corrections Advisory Board and BOCC. And due to COVID and a new Kansas Department of Corrections database, this report, although it had been yearly, it required yearly. It has not been required since the state fiscal year 2020. And in state fiscal year 2023, KDOC changed the format of the report to include both goals and objectives. As listed in this briefing sheet, you will see that we achieved all of our goals, while some objectives are either in progress or not achieved. And I am happy to stand for any questions you may have.
Great. Any questions for Rachel? Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Mustad, so what's the ultimate outcome of these programs?
The ultimate outcome of which programs?
Well, the Department of Corrections programs, you've got several goals here, which are fine, but what's the ultimate outcome? What are we trying to achieve?
We're trying to achieve lower recidivism and behavior change.
Okay, so is that reflected in either of these reports?
No, these are the goals and the outcomes and objectives that will help us get to the lower recidivism.
So how close are we?
So we have achieved, and actually, as you see on the adult goals, we have to achieve or maintain a success rate of 75% or higher. And last year, we were at 75%, I believe, and this year we are at 78%. So, and the way that KDOC defines that is by looking at those that are not sent back to the Department of Corrections.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for staying here all this time. I know you probably had a lot more things you could have been doing. And thank you for this detailed report.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner O'Hara.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. So you're saying that the recidivism is down to 22%?
Yes, as KDOC defines that. So there are many ways that people redefine recidivism. They're looking at the recidivism or success rate of those that do not go to the Kansas Department of Corrections.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions on this item? If not, let's move on to item number 4.
Very similar. So I am here, Rachel Mested, again with the Department of Corrections, and I'm here seeking approval for the state fiscal year 2023 juvenile year-end outcome report for the submission to the Kansas Department of Corrections. And this one was approved by our Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board on August 1st. And so, again, this is actually the first year for juvenile that we have had to submit outcomes and goals. We've always had to do so on the adult side. This is the first year on the juvenile side. And as listed in this briefing sheet, you will see that we achieved some of our goals and some of our objectives are either in progress or not achieved. And I'm happy to answer and stand for any questions that you may have.
Commissioner O'Hara?
Yes, so is there a rate of recidivism that is,
Yeah, juvenile does not count that the same way. It's structured differently. So we do not have an overall goal that's required by the Kansas Department of Corrections. And so that's not listed in this report.
okay, so just going back to the other one, just really quickly, what percent of the folks that we interface with do not go to the Kansas Department of Corrections? And you can tell me next week.
Well, right now, last year, it would be the 78% that did not go to the Kansas Department of Corrections in the way that they defined it. Now, they may have spent some time in custody afterwards, but they didn't actually walk through the physical walls of a Kansas Department of Corrections prison.
Okay. I'll visit with you later. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions? Rachel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5, Jay Leipzig, or Sean. Dealer's choice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Sean Penley, Deputy Director of County Planning, and Jay Leipzig, Director of Planning, is also available. This request is a City of Olathe application for a rezoning for the downtown properties and the downtown core. This, with this proposal, this would require approval by the county to consent to the approval of this rezoning. The city is intending to rezone several properties in the downtown area from the existing commercial zoning district to a new downtown zoning district. And this requires approval by the board since there are county-owned properties in this area. So the request would be for the chair to authorize the chair to execute an ownership affidavit and consent to be included in the rezoning. The city's zoning application is identified here on this map that shows the properties that would be included in this new zoning. The county properties are identified in the Block 5. That includes the county administration building, the county square, and the detention center. So the county participated in a similar rezoning in 2017 for the north area of the downtown, north of Santa Fe, and included properties for the county, including the county courthouse. The existing commercial zoning allows government uses and the county's facilities as a matter of right, except for the detention center. That use is allowed, but it would require a special use permit under the current current city regulations. This new proposed zoning classification for the city, for the downtown core district, will allow all county facilities, including the detention center, as a matter of right. So it would not require a special use permit under the proposed zoning. So if there's any changes in the future for the facility, that would not require a public hearing for a special use permit. It would be a permitted use. The City of Olathe has scheduled a public hearing with the City Planning Commission on October 9th, and this rezoning application requires approval by the City Council, which is anticipated on November 7th of 2023. Staff has reviewed this application for the rezoning, and it has no concerns. There would be no detrimental impacts to the county, so staff does recommend approval of inclusion of the county-owned properties and to have the chair authorize and sign the affidavit of consent. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are you guys getting any sleep? I mean, let's say we've had zoning meetings, we've had initiation of new people coming on board, and I know you had another meeting last night, and I've attended several of the meetings, so I appreciate all the work you've done. And I appreciate you showing everyone this entire plan. This, to me, is a matter of, doing some cleanup. It's an unbelievable partnership between the county and the city and creating the downtown area to be alive again. Creating a place to work, live, and play with some restaurants and some other things, in the downtown area. And I have a quick story to share. Commissioner O'Hara is always sharing her stories, so I have a very quick one. I was talking to a driver that has started a new business. It's a limo service. And so anyway, he lives in that apartment complex over there, and I happened to be in that ride to the airport. And he talked about how much he enjoys living in that apartment and being able to participate in what's going on in the downtown area. So it was really exciting to listen to him and how he's growing his business. And I don't know if Joe Waters here, I want to thank you because he is very excited to see that courthouse lawn completed, so he can walk his dog over there. So, sometimes we just don't hear about the businesses that are around. You've got the junk drawer, you've got the bakery shop, and that are in homes, and we don't hear about the great things that are going on. So I want you to know there's a lot of people looking forward to not only using that space, but also walking their dogs. So also thank you to the city of Olathe for putting I call it the poop scoop stand. So anyway, thank you.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Penley, by participating in this, will this have any impact on any potential future modification of our buildings or additional structures on the lawn or in any sense of that? And I ask because, as I recall, when the courthouse was built, we were required to increase the screening and at an exceptionally robust price, to borrow a term from the current chairman. So how does that impact us? Will they have that leverage over us?
Good question, Commissioner. Yes, the zoning change will not have any difference in an impact in those terms. So for the zoning purposes, it will have no change. There are still development requirements that the city has as part of their regulations, and the county has always cooperated with the city in trying to comply with all of those requirements. So any changes to future buildings in the downtown area will still require development plans that we would agree to participate, and that often does have design requirements, but that wouldn't be any different with this new downtown zoning. That would be the same. So
Thank you.
certainly we continue to cooperate with the city.
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Thank you. So what are the goals of the city? Why are they wanting to do this?
That's a good question, too. The goal of the city is to have a consistent zoning for the downtown core. So as part of their envision downtown plan, they want to have one consistent zoning. And the downtown zoning allows for a little bit more flexibility. And so the commercial zoning is just really not applicable for a lot of properties, including the county. Clearly, our buildings are not commercial district. But there are still some commercial uses, and some of those owners do have some concerns. But the new zoning will allow a consistent zoning to be applied for the whole downtown area, and it does allow a little bit different process for how they go through their plans as they come forward. So the goal is just to have consistency.
I know that in the downtown area that they have been very aggressive on tax incentives. Is this also part of the vehicle of them wanting this one core downtown for their tax incentives?
I am not aware of any economic development or tax incentive issues related to the zoning. It's just really for zoning and land use.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you. At this time, we're on to the action agenda. If it's okay with everybody, I'd like to take one item out of order, just out of consideration. Rachel Mistad already presented on 2 items, and she's on 12, so if there's no objection to letting her handle her item, her one remaining item now, I'd appreciate it. Okay, can the clerk read item number 12 into the record, please?
Item number 12, consider authorizing and submitting the Johnson County Department of Corrections SFY 2024 carryover reimbursement budget to the Kansas Department of Corrections as recommended by the Community Corrections Advisory Board in the amount of $274,189.98.
Good afternoon again, Rachel.
Good afternoon, Rachel Mested with the Department of Corrections again. And I am here today requesting the authorization of the state fiscal year 2024 carryover reimbursement to the Kansas Department of Corrections as recommended by the Community Corrections Advisory Board in the amount of $274,189.98. As noted in the briefing sheet, the Kansas Department of Corrections requires that we budget these funds yearly, or we will risk having to return them to the Kansas Department of Corrections. This year, the funds are being budgeted for the salary and benefits of 3 residential case managers, continuous quality improvement training, audiovisual equipment for fidelity purposes, sex offender evaluations and treatment, and for office supplies. And I will stand for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Mustad, when did this error occur?
So this error occurred in 2008.
2008. So the question is, are these accounts not audited on a regular basis? I mean, that's, 12 years that it was out of balance or misassigned? How do we go 12 years without noticing $500,000 or $250,000?
So one of the things is at the time when these fee funds, first of all, recently, within the past year and a half or 2 years, we did get a new financial manager. So she's taking a look at everything through kind of fresh eyes and what that looks like. The money that was misappropriated or misposted, actually, it was in another one of our accounts. And at the time, our accounts were very robust. And so, and we were bringing in a lot more fees because both of these were fee-funded accounts. And so we were able to, the tracking just looked a little bit different and the amounts looked different because now our amounts are down to minimal.
Okay. One follow-on, Mr. Chair. And that's an important distinction. It was not misappropriated.
Correct. It was misposted.
But does our accounting department, do they not verify or do random audits to ascertain the adequacy and the internal controls over accounts like yours? Not specifically yours, but just generally?
So I am going to have Robert answer this question because I don't want to answer questions for other departments. I'll let him do that.
Robert Sullivan, Department of Corrections. What occurred was our finance manager before Commissioner failed to do a reversal entry. And so had the proper procedures been followed, then that reversal would have occurred. And instead, that didn't happen. So it was misattributed to a different fee fund than what it was supposed to go to. And with a new finance manager that Rachel alluded to, asking a lot of questions as far as processes and procedures to follow, that's when it was discovered that a reverse entry was never actually reversed. And so that is how we discovered that.
Okay, very good, and I understand that, but my question is, the audit practices of our accounting department on funds like this, accounts like this, is there not some kind of internal control mechanism to review not just yours, but generally in the county?
So real quick, Commissioner, if the procedure had been followed, that's the key thing. It was an error on corrections part.
No, I understand.
And so, and this is where I think Leslie can explain, but so it balances. The part that was, the misposting is what tripped us up, was it was attributed to electronic monitoring program instead of the adult intensive supervised probation program. And so I'm not sure how that would have been caught because it balances. And so.
But I think as a follow-up, one of the things that I know when, and Robin just reminded me as well, is that in 2008, there was not a countywide grants compliance manager or officer, and there is now, in order to assist the departments with this, or with the grants compliance, and any help in order for errors such as this to be more likely to be caught.
County manager concur with that.
Well, I was going to see if Leslie or Robin had more information on the audit as to what level of detail, or we could follow up with your
Follow up,
question.
And we can do it offline.
Okay.
It's okay, it's okay.
Okay.
The day is long.
Further questions?
Consent's okay.
Can we move this to consent? Give Rachel the morning back?
No. No, I want to,
Any further information you need on this one? Commissioner O'Hara?
I have questions.
Now's the
I
time.
will-
Now's a great time for questions.
I'm going to do it offline. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll keep this on action, and we'll get to see you again next week.
We'll see you next week.
Okay,
Thanks, Rachel.
thank you. All right, would the clerk read item number 6, please?
Resolution number 073-23, consider approving the fiscal year 2024 budget for the Consolidated Fire District Number 2 and adopting resolution number 073-23.
Mr. Clemens, welcome back.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Similar to the previous two items, this is the approval of the Consolidated Fire District Number 2 budget, and Chief Chick will be here next week with a PowerPoint, and the document should be sent out to the BOCC tomorrow. And I apologize, they approved their budget this week as well, their board.
Very good. Commissioner Ashcraft, sorry, I saw his hand first. That's okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Clemens, thank you. As I mentioned with the other department, if at all possible, a phone call, a Zoom call, or if they want to come visit, I would appreciate it after, not tomorrow, assuming everything gets handed out tomorrow. Thank you.
Commissioner Fast, I apologize.
No, I met with Chief Chick and the board president, and so they're bringing forth the mill levy reduction, so.
Good.
Commissioner Ellenbrand?
Well,
did I
she
see
just
hand?
answered my question, thank you.
Very good. Okay, we'll see it next week. And Mr. Clemens, if you'd stay right there, and if the clerk would read item number 7, please.
Resolution number 072-23, consider approving the fiscal year 2024 budget for the Northwest Consolidated Fire District and adopting resolution number 072-23.
This is the approval of the Northwest Consolidated Fire District 2024 budget, and Chief Maxton will be here next week with a PowerPoint presentation, and the documents will be provided tomorrow. And they approved their budget this week, their board this week as well.
Okay. Questions? Commissioner Ellenbrand?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and he sends his apology. They both, and also the chairman of that board was unable to make it for this review, but they will both be here next week.
Very good. Any other questions? Okay, we'll see this one next week. Thank you very much, Mr. Clemens. Would the clerk read item number 10, please?
Resolution number 080-23, consider approving and adopting resolution number 080-23, adopting the fiscal year 2024 budget and the FY 2024 to 2028 capital improvement program as proposed.
Ms. Symes, welcome back.
Hi, Robin Symes of the Budget Financial Planning Department. By state statute, we're required to adopt a budget for 2024 by October 1st if the entity intends to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Within the briefing sheet is additional information about that budget, and then we'll also be submitting the budget resolution, which you'll receive next week.
All righty. Commissioner Fast.
Yes, I mean, my first years here, we would vote county, and then we'd vote library and parks. I mean, last year, Scott changed that. I really appreciated when it was divided up. I think it's easier for the public to understand, because right now, I'm always getting feedback about the library, parks, and then I say, well, go to your park board, go to your library board. I think that makes it more clear that we're not, this is a recommendation to us, but when it's all together, it sounds like I'm the sole authority of that budget.
So we do, really over the prior years, we have always included everything within that one budget resolution. There have been times in the past where the commissioners have pulled out specific items to approve them separately. And so we will still present a budget resolution with everything included, as the board does have authority over all of it, but you have the authority to go ahead and pull certain items out and then adopt those separately.
I remember when Steve Klicka was here, we did have them as separate items because he always asked for that.
And it may have been, you adopted certain pieces of the budget resolution. We've never presented it that way, but we've revised it in those situations.
I'm wrong? He is right, yeah. Well, then Steve then asked to divide them then.
Yes, and you can do that as well during the day.
Okay, I'm pre-COVID versus post-COVID brain.
Commissioner Hanson.
That's all right.
Thank you. No, I appreciate Commissioner Fast's comments, because that's what I remember too, but obviously I was wrong. But I agree, I do like them separated, because they're three different taxing jurisdictions, and I think it makes more sense for people to see that these are three different taxing jurisdictions. And there have been issues in the past where sometimes someone does not want to approve, or they have an amendment to a particular budget. And rather than having all three of them together, I think having them separate.
So could you give me motions to separate them?
Yes, I can work with Cindy in the legal department, and we can see what she would bring forward.
But it
We'll
gets,
take care of it.
yeah, it's better to have them, it's so complicated.
Yeah. All right. Commissioner Allen Brand?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, we all have different memories, right? Because I don't remember it that way, but I
You were here when Steve Klicka was here.
Well, I wasn't here when Steve Klicka was here. I'm here now,
One
and
at a
I'm
time.
looking into the future. But I don't mind having them all together, but if that's what the commission wants to do, I'm okay with that. But I made several comments earlier, and I'll save my comments until next week.
Commissioner O'Hara?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Commissioner Fast and will be supporting her motion to divide the question.
All right, so we've had about a dozen opportunities to speak with you about the budget,
Yes.
give or take. And we've put, I think, a substantial amount of work into this. Staff has put a significant amount of work into it. I think it would be fair to staff if we have policy-level considerations that we want to bring, that we discuss those now, so they have an opportunity to address those for us before having to do it on the fly next week, and then us as commissioners have an opportunity to consider and discuss those. So I would challenge folks, if they have policy-level changes that they'd like to see within the budget, let's talk about those. For me, I'm supporting this budget. I've discussed this previously. I think we finally invest in our people in this budget. We give more to our first responders in this budget, and I think it's a good budget, and I'm going to be supporting it. But if others have a difference, let's talk about this. Commissioner O'Hara?
Yeah, one issue that I have on the library board, and I have voiced this in the past, is that the library board has $4 million in refreshing the library in Spring Hill, and I've spoken with the leadership in the city and the leadership in the school district. No one wants this, and $4 million is a lot of money, because the downtown library, according to the city leaders and the school district leaders, that is probably going to need to be located more out on 199th area in that new growth area. Yeah, I don't know the specifics, and I do know that I encourage the city manager to talk with the library board. But the $4 million is still in the budget, and then $2 million to refresh Edgerton's library. And I drove through Edgerton the other day and, just noted that is a tiny, tiny, tiny facility. And the growth area in Edgerton, it's going to be taking off, and I know that there's new subdivisions. And I think that my recommendation would be to hold off on those investments and take $6 million out of the library's budget and reduce the mill levy.
So, sticking on that one real quick, Ms. Symes, the library expansion or refreshing projects are within the CIP, right?
Correct.
Those are one-time funds?
I believe so. Mark, are they debt finance or just one time? Just one time. So they're using reserves for those. So
Yes, they are.
removing those from the budget would not reduce the mill levy.
Okay, that was my point.
Well, you could
Thank
you could use the reserves to reduce the mill levy.
Ongoing hole that would need to be filled on an annual basis if we reduce the mill levy, correct, Ms. Symes?
Correct.
Okay, so that'd be an unfunded mandate and a challenge, I think, moving forward that is not one that I'd like to leave for the library board. But we can have that discussion. I appreciate you bringing it up. Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you. Well, as the liaison to the library board for the past 4.5 years, when I first became the liaison, one of the biggest issues, and I believe it was Commissioner Klicka who was really pushing this, was to improve the rural libraries, particularly Spring Hill. And to my knowledge, nothing's ever been brought forward to the library board changing that. So if there is information, I think that's something that needs to be discussed with the library board president and the director of the library, because I'm not aware of any information that's come to the board that contradicts any of those decisions from the past.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I wanted to comment on Commissioner O'Hara's and Commissioner Hanslick's observations. I have heard similar things that you have heard, Commissioner O'Hara, and I'm aware of what you're saying, Commissioner Hanslick. Maybe it's an opportunity for library staff or whoever to reach out, because there seems to be at best a communications gap there, because I suspect if they knew, they would have really big questions about improving a temporary facility if they really want to move it. So I hope between the two of us or the three of us or the chair or whatever can share that, because I did not hear anything about that in the joint session with the library board. And Commissioner Hanslick, if you're as you're on the board, if you haven't heard about it, we're missing.
Sure, hold on. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity. Commissioner Fast.
Yeah, I just think, the Corinth Library was in the CIP after Blue Valley. So I brought together library staff, the mayor, city councilors that I met with, and then, I met with my board representative. We're going to have Prairie Village present to the board. I was going to present to the board, but the board then listened, and that, that Prairie Village really wants that Corinth Library, and they moved it up. So I really think if you meet with them and ask to, bring elected officials together, they were very responsive, from my feedback and the elected feedback.
But when I get the opportunity to talk, I'll take my turn. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I do have some parts of the unincorporated area and some parts of Spring Hill, and I can say that when I was hearing this, I did coordinate a meeting with the library board. So Commissioner Hanslick, you're right, nothing has gone forward. This money is sitting there, and they're not I had Mr. Waters, I think you were in that meeting, or Mr. Connor, I can't remember. I don't know who went, but there was an agreement that was made that there's not any, at this point, any moving forward. So I don't know, there is growth, like Commissioner O'Hara said, that's going on, that's also going to affect my district as well. And it could be possibility of things changing. So I do want you to know there is communication going on. And as far as Edgerton, I do not want to speak, and that's part of the library board, and they have asked more than once or twice to have that refreshed. And so I have been down there, and I have been in that library, and it needs refreshed. And so there will continue to be talks with those city officials and with the library. So I just want to correct the miscommunication and the misinformation. So I just wanted to add that. That's why it's,
Thank you, Commissioner Allenbrand. Thank you, Commissioner Hare, for raising the topic. Now, I'll be prepared to address that topic next week. Other policy level reductions that people want to see to be considered for next week's budget. Let's discuss those now out of fairness to staff.
I will have some additional comments next week. Thank you.
Out of a courtesy to staff, can we discuss what those items would be?
I will have them next week. Thank you.
We've had 13 opportunities. If you would have ideas for policy level reductions, let's have a substantive conversation instead of performatively doing it at the last minute next week.
Mr. Chairman, the input that district commissioners have on the budget is, I mean, we are limited to filling out a little form when the department heads come in. I mean, our opportunities, in my opinion, has been very scant as far as substantive recommendations. We need to, in my opinion, we need to really, we need to be looking at this entire budget from a zero-based budgeting perspective instead of just adding on each year. We don't tear these budgets apart and look and see where we could possibly save money. We don't. I mean, we just add on. And as far as the library, I did speak with the city manager. The city manager supposedly did speak with the library board. I know that the prior superintendent of the Spring Hill School District had conversations of consolidating the high school library and a new library for Spring Hill. That didn't go anywhere. And when we are talking about spending $4 million when the community is not supporting it, I have real questions about that.
And I appreciate you raising that topic. I do, because we've all now had an opportunity to talk about it, and we'll all be prepared to address it. We had the opportunity to talk about that directly with the library board when they presented, which I appreciate that we all had an opportunity to attend. Now, to say that you haven't had an opportunity to impact this budget, all due respect, is a farce. We have had many opportunities to do so. Zero-based budgeting is also a bit of a workaround and a fallacy with the amount of staff time that's necessary to do that, in my opinion, does not meet the bar for a benefit conferred to the county. We have all had an opportunity to discuss specific items within the budget, specific requests for additional resource, to discuss this with every department head. So if you don't have substantive ideas of how to reduce from a policy level perspective, because these are the costs as they are that the people of Johnson County want for the services that they have told us they enjoy, that's fine, but let's be honest about it. Instead of just showing up next week with ideas at the last minute. So while I would have hoped that if we had real ideas for policy level reductions, we would have discussed them even before this week. But let's at least have the courtesy to give it to them now. So that's my request. Commissioner Allenbrand.
Mr. Chair, I appreciate your comments because that's the frustration level I have. First of all, our staff has bent over backwards. We've been meeting, it seems like since January. If I reach out to anybody within the department, they answer back to me. I have lots of opportunity to talk to Parks and Rec. I have opportunity to talk to the library. And the county manager, there's not enough time in the day that we can sit down and dissect every single one of these. You're talking over 4,000 and some employees, and that is the role of the county manager. And I have disagreed with some of the things that I feel like changes can be made. And you know what? She listens to me. She makes a list. We may not agree on it, but she's going to look into it. So I feel a very frustration level because I'm sick and tired of the staff getting beat up with incorrect numbers, made up percentages. And if you do have a budget, use the right numbers. I didn't want to call out Mr. Bauer, but I felt like, and I'm going to get it to him, use the correct numbers and then tell me what you want to cut. And if you want to bring something forward, that's what I want to see. And so, you talk about, separation of the board. I think it's just presenting the real facts and something that might really work. So that, I would just agree again with the opportunity because, we talk about, I just see how hard the staff's working. I'm in and out of this building 3 or 4 times a week, and you know that some of the things that we ask for, some of the things the community asks for, you're running in circles. I don't know how you do it. I applaud all of you.
Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Chair. I will just say again, it's just a matter of simple communication. I've had ample opportunity, ample time to discuss budget with whoever I need to discuss it with, and have always been open and gotten answers to any questions that I've needed. It's just a matter of communication, well, I'll stay with that comment.
All right, not seeing anything. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Ashcraft, go ahead.
You turned away too quickly.
I know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, frustration can be parsed several different ways, and I will share that I will probably have comments, if not motions, related to the mill levy next week. I am not prepared to get into specific arguments at this time, but areas that I've had expressed concerns about previously, and there may also be other commissioners that have similar comments. So while I appreciate and respect your desire to give staff additional time to prepare, I think those conversations have gone on, and it'll be a policy decision for us, and the impact on staff will be more administrative than, I think, challenging, but that's just my perspective.
So I think the challenge is not just to staff, but also to the rest of the commission. So while I do feel for the staff, and we'll always try to look out for their best interests, their best interest in a courtesy to them being put on the spot, also to the rest of us. You say you'll have motions. Commissioner Harris said she'd have motions related to the budget for the sheriff, I believe, for next week. Let's talk about them. Let's be able to actually address them instead of trying to spring a surprise. We've had an opportunity to have discussions over this, and I go back to Commissioner Myers said it right. It's a communication issue. I'm here to listen. My door is open. If it's shut, I'm on the phone, but if not, it's open. And I would hope that all of us would take the opportunity to discuss ideas, whether it be one-on-one or in open session with the dozen of times we've had to discuss this budget earlier this year. And while I appreciate the opportunity to make motions at the end of the day, if we're talking about roll reductions to the mill levy, that's going to have an impact on this budget. And if you want to do that, let's identify which services we want to reduce and be able to have an apples-to-apples fair conversation and be accountable to the people of Johnson County for that proposed reduction in service. Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two points I wanted to make. First of all, not having potential motions ahead of time, to me, is the height of the lack of transparency. And we're always talking about transparency here. So I don't appreciate when things are sprung on us. Secondly, Commissioner O'Hara has mentioned zero-based budgeting a number of times in the past, and I did some research into it because I wanted to see if it is a viable option. And I think this is the best stated that I found in a report from Deloitte, which is a very well-regarded financial organization. Their report said that zero-based budgeting first rose to prominence in government during the 1970s financial crisis. Faced with mounting public pressure, U.S. President Jimmy Carter promised to balance the federal budget and reform the federal budgeting system using zero-based budgeting, which he had used while governor of Georgia. Though initially well-received, ZBB proved not only complicated and time-consuming, but also ineffectual, as it was Congress and the executive branch that were ultimately responsible for deciding whether to keep or eliminating a program. President Reagan abandoned the system after his election in 1980.
Commissioner O'Hara.
And now the debt in the United States is like at $32 trillion. We need to be way more vigilant on our budgeting and the fact that our residents are looking at an average, I believe, of 11.5% overall increase average in their property taxes, and some way more than that. It's the way that we've been doing business is just it's not working. We have to figure out how to be more fiscally responsible to our constituents. People really. As I was having dinner with lunch with my daughter yesterday, and it's my youngest daughter, and she's living in an apartment. She wants to buy a house. And with the inflation and the housing prices and the interest rates, and she's paying $1,600 a month on rent, and it's just everything is piling on top of everything else, and people are just maxed out. And we are taxing unrealized gains. And people, because their value of their homes go up, does not mean that their income is going up so that they can afford these increases. So we just need to get really serious about how we're providing these services and how we can do a better job.
No. That's a fair point. What's the idea, though? We can sit here and complain and woe all day. Not to say that it's not unwarranted, to say that people are feeling a pinch. I don't disagree with that. We are 15% of somebody's tax bill. So
20 to 25%.
Thank you very much. Not everybody is 20 to 25%. I believe it was 15.6% on your slide, something to that effect.
Yes, it was the
Robin?
county.
Thank you so much.
Library and parks.
On the general, just our general fund?
Thank you.
Not including the library and the parks?
Thank you very much. I'm speaking right now. You'll have an opportunity. We can take this one at a time. I've been courteous. I'd expect the same courtesy. So to say it's not working also is incorrect. 95%. We've got the numbers to prove it. People are satisfied with Johnson County. Might not be the people that we whip up to show up on a Monday night, but 95% satisfaction rate. And I'll go to the mat with that. Now, if you want to get serious, here's the opportunity. Let's get serious. Where do you believe there's an opportunity for policy level reductions to meet a revenue neutral amount? If we want to get serious, let's get serious. Let's just not complain. Let's do our job. Let's go to the state and try to get ad valorem tax back. I'll absolutely go up with you to the State House, and we can pound on the legislature to give that money back to the counties. I'll go with you if you'll go. I'll have a meeting with you off this dais to discuss how else we can lower the burden of property taxes on individuals and find additional revenue sources so that we can bring down the mill levy even more. But you got to be willing to meet with me off the dais to do that, or you got to get serious and bring real ideas to the board and not just complain.
Thank you for the lecture.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd be more than happy to go with you to help, and so I appreciate you taking that initiative. First of all, I can't solve federal government. I'm here to take care of our county, and even though I do some of that on my own free time of what I have interest in. And secondly, when it comes to the property tax, that's state. And I have talked to the chairman, and I assume several of us have talked about, coming up with the Commission of Aging, coming up with something, a sort of a tax freeze for property taxes. And I don't mean to be disrespectful when we compare and go back to 2012 or in previous years, because we can't compare what happened numerous years ago to where we are here. And to me, all I can do is take a look now at this year and what's going to happen in the future. And I feel the pain, and I answer the questions, and I understand what people are feeling, because I feel it myself. I no longer work. I had play money. Some of that play money's disappeared. And so, it's, and you can laugh all you want, Commissioner O'Hara, but I take a grain of salt to that, because, my kids, they hurt as well. There's not any of us sitting up here that doesn't have family or someone who's feeling the pain. So I'm just saying that we have spent all this time. I wish somebody would have come forward with the exact numbers, the real true numbers, and then say, this is the plan. But I'm not going to set up here, and again, I don't want to be picking on the sheriff's deputies, because they deserved what they got. But who am I to sit here and say and take it away from, mental health and, our Med Act and, who are you going to cut? That's not fair. It was the mission of most of us sitting up here was to take care of our staff, and we had a priority list that we participated in. I support this budget. Again, I look forward to if somebody does have the real numbers and they're not fake percentages, and this is what we do. And I'm just sorry that it's come to this day and that we're doing it here, and it should have been done a long time ago. So that's my comments.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you. And I just wanted to follow up, Mr. Chair, on your comment about the local ad valorem reduction fund. That was in 2003, the Kansas legislature chose to stop those disbursements and costing counties millions of dollars. And then, but there's more. In 2006, the legislature eliminated the machinery and equipment tax, and they promised to refund the lost revenue to counties. That promise was quickly broken. In 2015, the legislature began the elimination of the mortgage revenue fund. So all of these actions served to reduce the county's non-property tax revenue, leading to increased county dependence on property taxes. And so I find it ironic when the Kansas legislature keeps plundering our local revenues, and then they accuse us of not being fiscally responsible. In fact, one of the things I have asked Ms. Symes and the Budget Department to put together is a list of those services that are required by the state for counties to provide, because we are an arm of the state. Mm-hmm. And I would like to have that list, and I know you're working on that. Mm-hmm. I've tried to put some together myself, but there are things we are required to provide, and we don't get funding for it, or we don't get very much funding. And so those are all issues, I think, as we approach the next legislative session.
Can you email that out, that legislative milestones you were saying? I'd
Glad
appreciate it.
glad to. This is all from Kansas Association of Counties.
I've looked for it at times and couldn't find it.
I'll be glad to share it. And that does not even address Medicaid expansion. Right now, Johnson County Mental Health Center would be eligible for reimbursement of approximately $7 million a year, which is now being provided as charitable care. And if the legislature would expand Medicaid, that could potentially reduce property taxes.
One of only 10 states in the nation that hasn't done so. Commissioner Allen-Brand.
Sorry, I won't talk anymore after this. Mr. Chair, I would like to offer that maybe we have a work session. I know we've done this in the past on when we do put together our legislative action plan for next year.
Yeah, we do that in December.
I know, thank
We
you.
can have a robust look at the funding supports from the state and how that impacts our non-property tax revenues within Johnson County. I think that's a good idea. Sorry, Mark, you're going to get more stuff on your plate.
He does it with a smile.
All right. Well, we'll have some fun next week, Robin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 11, please.
Consider authorizing the purchase of EMS protective clothing, bunker gear from Weiss Fire Safety per Sourcewell Cooperative Contract Number 032620 for the use by Johnson County MedAct for a total amount not to exceed $200,000 to be paid from the MedAct uniform budget.
Scott Sayre, the Deputy Director of the Department of Emergency Services, here with us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commission. The item before you is an item of request to replace Johnson County MedAct's emergency protective clothing. Typically, this clothing is referred to as bunker gear. It protects our medics and EMTs from physical hazards, bodily fluids, chemical agents, and things like that when they're responding to emergencies out in the field. There's a variety of settings that require this gear to be worn, like motor vehicle accidents, hazmat scenes, and things like that. The National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA, is the one who sets the regulations for manufacturer use and replacement of bunker gear, and we're in a place now with our gear that it's due to be replaced. The last time we replaced it department-wide was 2007, and we've been doing it one-off during our regular inspections, but those needs for replacement have outpaced our ability to do it one for one, and we are ready to replace the entire department's set of bunker gear. 2023 RER was funded for the purchase of this gear, so we're not asking for any additional funds, just the authority to purchase, and we'll be using a competitively bid cooperative contract through Sourcewell to do so. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, so this technically isn't a sole source provider, correct?
Correct. The Sourcewell is a cooperative, Sourcewell is the name of the cooperative contract, so they competitively bid it out, and we're buying off of that cooperative.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, and just to cut to the chase, an RER was funded. You're not requesting additional funds. There's sufficient funds within the 2023 budget to make this purchase.
That is correct.
And so you are before us because the amount is over the procurement amount that
Correct.
comes before this board?
That is correct.
Okay. Other questions on this one? Objections to consent? Okay, we'll put it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 13, please.
Consider approving the BOCC joint response to the Kansas Open Meetings Act complaint filed with the Kansas Attorney General regarding the June 29th, 2023 executive session.
Ms. Peg Trent, Chief Legal Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. You have before you an item that will need your consideration at the next meeting relating to a joint response to the Attorney General as to a coma complaint which was received back on July 6 relating to a June 29th executive session. The complaint was made by Commissioner O'Hara, and there were numerous allegations that were brought forward. In your packet on base, as well as what I emailed you, it contains a letter from the AG and all of the supporting documentation in which the Attorney General's office had received related to this complaint. To be specific, and I would like to first explain the process to you and what the allegations are specifically, and what is needed to be accomplished prior to next week before we can compile and complete a joint response to the Attorney General. First of all, there were several, as I indicated, complaints about, I would say, 5 allegations. One of the allegations involved a concern that the county manager was present in an executive session and whether third parties are permitted to be in an executive session. The Attorney General's office considered that allegation, at that point determined that depending upon a public body such as yourself can determine when third parties, and it's not uncommon that you would have someone of administrative personnel present in such an executive session. And at that point, the Attorney General determined that that would not violate COMA to include the county manager in that executive session. And at that point dismissed that, closed, if you will, that allegation. The other allegation related to the July 29th executive session was that the item that you later voted on related to the county manager was not actually on your agenda. And again, the Attorney General, in reviewing that allegation, determined under COMA that it does not prohibit a public body from amending its agenda or adding to the agenda, and that's outside the scope of COMA, and did not find that further action was needed on that and closed that particular allegation. The other allegation was that I, as the chief counsel, was not present in your executive session on July 29th. At that point, we were not related to, that particular executive session was related to non-elected personnel. And at this point, it did not require my legal advice back there. So therefore, it was not mandatory that chief counsel, that I needed to be back in that executive session, which I was not. The board did not violate COMA. The Attorney General determined based on that, and to that extent, part of the complaint was closed. There was also a complaint that there was material back in executive session, and there was a request by Commissioner O'Hara for that material, and it was denied. And as such, the Attorney General, in reviewing that request, did not find that that violated COMA from back in the executive session. So what was left standing, if you will, was the complaint related to that the board improperly discussed general market adjustments to the county salaries during the June 29th executive session, so that you improperly discussed just general market adjustments, which was the market study pay table. And the allegation said that the presentation back in executive session that was presented was the same as during June 22nd agenda review, using specifically the county manager, chief counsel, and auditor, which are your employees, and about their pay. And they stated that the only issue discussed, according to the complaint, was the pay table, and the instructions were the adoption of the resolution would include that pay schedule for those positions. At this point, because the AG can't determine what was discussed back there in executive session, that was the complaint that moved forward, if you will, and was brought for further investigation. And I want to call your attention in this particular letter, because that kind of gives you an idea of why the process that we're using and kind of explaining that. Within that letter, it also, in advising us of that we needed to respond within a certain time period, it indicated what you needed to do in order to comply with the investigation. And what that entailed was something unique that, and it's within, I presume, the Attorney General's prerogative to handle it in this matter. But it is unique, and I have to comment on that, and why we did what we did in the process. Specifically within the letter, it indicated, when responding to this inquiry, you may submit statements from individual commissioners or provide a single document with response from all commissioners. The response to our request must, and here is an and, which it has to meet all these three criteria, signify the individual commissioner has reviewed and approved the response, or in the case of a joint response, signify the board has reviewed and approved the joint response and attest that it's true and correct. And then you need to provide this information. Well, the issue becomes, if we bring a joint response forward on the table, you're not going to get everyone to agree. Obviously, because of June 29th and what we look back in that meeting, there was disagreement as you went into executive session. There was discussion, I think, when it came out, when you talked about the motion that you did make after coming out of executive session. You made a motion when the item came up on the pay tables, because you couldn't make any motion until whether you approved or not approved the pay tables. That's when you made the motion about the county manager's contract. So in order to accomplish the intent and openness and to do a thorough investigation, which was tasked with my department and me as chief counsel, it was imperative that we do a hybrid. And so hence, that's why you were provided individual questionnaires, in addition, a joint response that will give the more general overview. So from what you can't recall in recollection, the legal department is pulling it all together so that we have an overview. It is our intent to attach the questionnaires to the response as an attachment. We're not asking you to approve those questionnaires. It's just attachment to the response we intend to send to the Attorney General's office. There was discussion during public comment, why the delay, why aren't we immediately? Actually, it was delayed till September 8th, and we said that we would have it by next meeting, the end of the month. The reason for the delay is it came in on a Thursday after your board meeting, and in order to get in the cycle for your review, because I heard you loud and clear, you want it in the review before it comes on to your agenda, I needed to get it on, get it out to you for you to review. We have to turn it around, and I will submit to you, if you've read the AG and what they're requesting, and I have also asked for additional information, because I think to be the true spirit of any violation, we have to know a lot more than what the AG had asked. So at this point, to pull all of that together, it takes time, because believe it or not, the county has other business. And it requires a lot from Linda Sater, who is our county clerk, to put on her to get documents, transcripts, everything we need to prove one of these claims. So the hours we are putting in to make sure we appropriately answer this and thoroughly, and I know it takes time to even answer that questionnaire. It's a very involved questionnaire. I believe it is a very good process in order to get transparency what actually occurred. So with that, I know that there's been media reports on this. I know people are talking in the media. I intend to include everything. I am not going to hope that I missed something. So we are including and making it comprehensive, transcripts and everything. And just so you're aware, when you sign that statement, and I made sure I made you aware, there is a penalty, meaning they're looking at you being honest in what you put forward. My goal is that we've given everything, so we don't have to have the AG come back and ask for additional information, but that could occur. From some of your responses, it could generate more information, but I'm trying to be, to solve this so we answer it and we're out and a decision can be made. So with that, I stand for questions. I wanted to take time to make sure I gave a major overview so you understood why we were doing what we did.
Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Trent, for your explanation. You know, being honest is the easy part, I think. But trying to recollect something from 7 or 8 weeks ago when we have multiple executive sessions, as we're going to have one today, it's sometimes difficult to recollect exactly even who was present at the time the meeting took place. But where I get frustrated is that, again, it comes back to the simple communication, and I don't know if this took place or not, but was it communicated to you, and was there response or discussion with the person making the complaint, and given answers that could have easily been given, I think, because again, you're well versed in the COMA regulations and with this executive session, and we wouldn't be spending the time, and it's costing residents money.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I'm getting really concerned, is the amount of money that staff is having to put in to a situation like this that could have been easily remedied with communication.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that there can still be some questioning and reason for moving forward with a complaint like this, but I hate to see the amount of time and the amount of money. You know, we always talk about, we're worried about how much money taxpayers are having to pay. This is a situation of costing taxpayers money. And I'm frustrated because I've been involved with executive sessions, I've been involved with COMA for years and years and years, and maybe not everybody has, but I believe that the people on this dais have an understanding of COMA and executive sessions and the requirements of it enough to where you could have easily asked communication to take place rather than causing this additional cost to our residents. That's my frustration.
Chair, if I could respond to that, please.
Go ahead.
I did receive email and text. I think it was mostly text and an email, and I did provide the commissioner a form, because when I had indicated that I did not think this was a violation, that's the extent. But I did receive communication, and Commissioner Hare did receive. As a matter of fact, I want to reach out. Commissioner Fast also set up a meeting and actually sat down to understand and explain to me, and we had a great dialogue. And as a result of Commissioner Fast, I was able, when we did the COW just recently, I took a lot of that of the executive session to take an opportunity in your rules of order to outline where those items were. That was subsequent, but the complaint came in all fairness, on July 6th. The actual meeting, I think, was when you came back from break, because you had a break in July. But I will tell you, Commissioner O'Hara did reach out. I do want you to know she did text me, and I believe there was an email, and I did provide her the form. So I want to make sure that that is clear. I think that at this point, you know, what's more concerning is that as we respond, that we are very transparent and open and putting it out there. And I think that we've done a good job with our rules of conduct and outlining and talking. So I'm not sure, but I think at this juncture, we're down this path. We have to comply. If we don't comply with the Attorney General, we're facing a penalty. There's the ability to subpoena us, deposition, interrogatories. They can take us into district court. There's $500 fine for every violation. This is serious allegations, and we have to take every allegation serious. And if the Attorney General tells us otherwise, we will comply and do what we want. But I don't see that going in that direction from the evidence that I see But, you know, it'll be very telling when I see everybody's questionnaire and see what they have to divulge. But from what I can tell already, what's been provided, I don't see what the issue is, but we'll go from there.
Commissioner Allen Brand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner Myers, thank you for your comments, because I feel the same way. I mean, I look at our legal department, I look at the staff, and I look at all these, these reports that we have to get and all the staff that's been added and the taxpayer dollars that are being spent. And I don't know if, maybe I need to take some kind of medication because of memory. I'm like, it's like I got to go back to then, and I don't see the issue. But I also have to say, I appreciate you coming to me and saying, did you get the email? Because if you hadn't have said something to me between people writing in because they, felt like they couldn't come Monday night, so they were either for or pro, I had all those emails on top of a bunch of other emails, and I struggle not only with my schedule, but also with my emails, trying to keep up. So I really appreciate that. And I think the thing that bothered me the most is not communicating. And then the other thing that really bothered me, I started getting phone calls, and I didn't even know what was going on, that commissioners were commenting in the Kansas City Star. I haven't had time to read it yet because I've been busy in my district. But that bothers me, and everybody has the right. Everybody has the right to speak. But
Absolutely.
I just wish we could have more open communication between us. And we are going to disagree, and sometimes we're going to agree together. And I still am trying to figure out, and I haven't had time to read all this because I didn't get the briefing. And thank you for giving that to me yesterday. So I promise you before I leave today, I don't care how long it
And
takes.
keep in
me.
mind, it's due Friday
Yeah, I
by
don't have
5 PM to the legal department, and we will then include that in your packet. So on Tuesday, when the packets go out, we will have the response and the attachment. All of that will be in the packet open to the public. And the way that this investigation was done, and at the request of Commissioner Hare, what she wanted to see if there was a violation is the transparency of all of it open. It's open even before the decision has been made whether there was a violation or not. So it's open.
Commissioner Fast.
Yeah, so I want to take the letter, because I don't understand how you're interpreting it. In responding to our inquiry, you may submit statements from individual commissioners or
Correct.
or provide a single document. And then the three bullet points are not written well, which we could ask for clarification.
We did.
It said signify the commissioners have reviewed and approved. So that means I'm reviewing and approving my own questionnaire. And then the second bullet, in case of a joint response. So we either go individual or joint. I do not feel like I can vote on a legal response. I vote on policy. So you want us, am I correct, to vote on a joint legal response that you write? I can't do that.
Correct, and that is why I'm doing both, the hybrid, because I pretty much presumed from the comments in the newspaper and everywhere that
But
was not going to occur.
that doesn't say that we can choose.
Finish your comment, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that the way it is I can't, if I move you as a statement, then do I give everybody a statement or do I do a joint response? Your memories, and I have evidence to support what happened, has to come in a joint response. You are also an individual commissioner representing your district, but you're also a member of this commission. As a county, you represent the board. And so you're bringing forward and to cast dispersion on a legal letter that we're writing representing you to the board, when we're giving the information that gives you the legal, you may feel a certain way and the practice, but the law is a certain way, and that's by attorneys. So to respect everyone, there was a decision to do a hybrid the way that the letter is written. We contacted the AG's office to ask for clarification because we were trying to find, is there a way without this to have this investigation done how should I say, confidentially. And then if there's a violation, it's released. If there's not, why are we, stirring this up? But at this point, from the way the letter is written and the way that this is set up, it's all, and it says it's subject to CORA, subject to Open Records Act, even your individual questionnaire.
That's what I'm still not following. It says or. We as a group choose or we choose group. It doesn't say and.
And signifies the joint response. It says there's 3 prongs in that letter if you scroll down.
Well,
and I'm not going to sit and argue. You're going
No,
to
but I
disagree
guess
with me.
I
Can we talk one at a time?
I have the floor. You've talked way more than I have.
I don't believe I've addressed this topic at all. but
Well,
if
through
I'm
the
asking
day.
both of you if we can talk one at a time for everybody's sake. Commissioner Fast, if you'd like to make a point, please make it.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to finish my conversation. It says, signify the individual commissioners have reviewed and approved the response at signing off of our individual questionnaire. That's what I take, and I would like, that's what they're saying there. The first bullet refers to the first part. The second 2 bullets refer to the second part.
Chair, if I may, the paragraph before, this is, I don't mean to be questioning the AG's writing ability, and I don't, this is a form.
I am.
Okay, but the paragraph before, there's 3 paragraphs I'm going to direct you to.
Okay.
That conflict, it gives mixed messages. Please state, be sure to provide any other information or documentation that is relevant to the board's response to the allegations raised in the complaint or that explain the board's or individual commissioner's actions. Okay, so I've got to do something to explain. If you say something, Commissioner Fast, in your affidavit, it's saying, please be sure to provide any information that explains the individual commissioner's actions. Please also note, we are not asking you, the board, or any division to reveal any confidential attorney-client privilege matters in regarding to this complaint. But then down below, it's telling me that this is open. Their responses may also be open in the event a request is made under the provisions of the Kansas Open Records Act. Moving up to the top of the letter, even where we started this questionnaire and their request. To assist us in the review of the matter, we'd appreciate the board's written response to the allegation raised in the complaint and described in the supporting documents. So now it's asking me for the board's response. So when you read through this letter, and we analyze this letter over and over to make sure, because we want to comply. What I don't want is you getting subpoenaed, drug into district court, interrogatories and everything. So it was our decision as a legal department, you want an open investigation, and if I was doing it and I was a former prosecutor, you're going to get one, and you're going to get it thoroughly to answer it. But there is contradiction in this letter, and the only way to answer this is to do it the hybrid way and being thorough. And if we're going to get to the truth, and that's what we're about here, then in transparency, we're going to get it. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'll have the response for you uploaded on Tuesday. You can vote against the response. To me, as long as I have your affidavit as an attachment, I've got both, so I'm covered. I'm not sure why you would not agree with the response. I'm not saying, other than I'm citing the law and providing documentation, but if that's the law is not what you want, then fine, vote no. But we're about COMA, did we violate the law? Not best practice, not our rules of order. We're talking about COMA.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 2 questions. One is pretty mundane, and you may not be able to answer this. Do you have any sense of when we might get a response from the AG's office after we submit the requested information?
Chair, if I may, I don't, in the letter, it said that they could request more information. There could be, if there's a finding, there could be, a violation. So we don't have any idea how long this lasts. It's not also outlined for us to know, the process. I did see something in the statute relating to 21 days, but I'm not positive that applied in that regard. I'm just trying to do the best to cooperate as a board for you.
Thank you. And my second question, whenever there's, in my mind, a question about coma, I usually start by going back to all the training materials I received in board orientation and in other subsequent trainings here at the county. And then if I'm not able to find it there, I go to the Attorney General's office, where there's a whole list of frequently asked questions about coma, and there's also, excuse me, I don't know if it's still in force, but under Derek Schmidt, there was actually a statement that he put out clarifying what coma is and is not. If someone has questions about coma, and can they directly call the AG's office and just ask about it, or do you have to actually submit a complaint? Or can you call and say, hey, I have a question about this? I'm for my own edification.
In Johnson County, we are so fortunate. You have a great DA, Steve Howe, you can reach out to in his office. There's been complaints from public that have gone to the district attorney, and just an incredible office in responding. You can reach out to the AG's office. Our office, we have Cindy Dunham, who has been designated as our open records coma. There's so many people that we can direct you to, but yes, and the public does call. Not our office, but I think district attorney's office gets a lot of calls.
Well, I appreciate that, because that's good to know that that's an option without having to go down the road of a complaint. So thank you.
Commissioner O'Hara?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually have used the avenue of talking to the district attorney on another incident that I was concerned about. And I spoke with the chief legal counsel about it, and told her that the district attorney told me that in the future he was going to be holding a seminar on Kansas Open Meetings Act, executive sessions, and I explained to the chief legal counsel that I would be attending that, and she said that she would be delighted to attend that with me. And so I have taken advantage of that in prior situations.
He's really good, I hear, too. The training is outstanding.
So I'm looking forward to that.
I don't even know when it is. So,
I haven't seen any notification.
Please share it.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Trent, mostly incidental questions. I believe I received an email from you a few days ago with an attachment with the title Coma Questionnaire for Commissioners. Has there just been one version of that sent out?
that is correct, Commissioner.
Okay, good. And you authored that document, and it appears to be based, but I wanted to confirm, it appears to be based on the questions on page 2 of Amber Trent's August 7th.
I think Amber Smith, yes.
Amber Smith?
And I added on to those questions
what'd I
because
say?
I don't believe she went.
Amber Trent.
Yeah, she didn't.
Amber Trent?
Yeah.
Oh.
I added on to
Big
her
sister.
questions for clarification, Commissioner, because I think she didn't go far enough to know what did the other commissioners say in the meeting, because you could stray off a topic. And I
Okay.
think you needed to
Okay.
ask more, so I
So-
did.
So in her letter, there appears to be a lot more asked of the county than is asked of us individually. So the presumption is that you or someone in staff will, for example, provide a copy of any recording, blah, 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 of the meeting, not just the exec session, but the meeting, the whole meeting.
Right, and there
Okay.
was minutes requested back to January 1st, all the way through June 29th, the minutes, so Linda has to secure, we
Okay.
have to download all of those and
Okay, so
then scan them.
So my question is, and you said this, but I want to make sure I'm clear. Tomorrow by 5, you want from us, or me at least, my responses to your 7 questions. Is that what you're asking
Correct.
for? Or 8 questions, excuse me. And that's all you want? And you want it on this form in hard copy signed? Because Commissioner
Correct.
Myers asked me, and that was our supposition, but I wasn't quite sure. Okay.
Sorry, we didn't put that on the email, but that is correct. And Grace had created, because she was aware that some of you may not have PDF forms. So what Grace did is it in Word document with a box, so you can just type in your response in the box, print it out, sign it, bring it to the legal department. We're compiling all of those together. And for those who are interested, we've already written or draft of the joint response. We're just waiting on documents and everything to pull it all together. So we've written our response. We're just waiting to get yours, and, making sure we're answering those questions that are directed to us as legal.
And so you will have a packet of everybody's comments and all your documentation for us next week, and that's what you're going to ask us to do something with, approve? or-
Approve, but not your, the attachments of your individual questionnaires. I'm not asking you to approve those, but that's an attachment to the submittal.
Okay.
Hence the hybrid approach, right?
Hybrid approach.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, these questionnaires that we fill out, they are sworn statements subject to penalty of perjury?
Yes, even though you're not, going in front of a notary, I put in the email per the AG's letter, there was a specific language that said, please be aware, these are statements of admission. So I guess if we didn't tell the truth, this could be used in the court if they went to district court for non-compliance or not telling the truth.
You said it would be open to the Kansas, and I think it says in the letter that these are open.
Right.
If a request is made under the provisions of the Kansas Open Records Act?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, but it's going to be on our agenda, so.
Well,
Yeah, we're just putting it out there, because instead of getting record requests, we just thought, just open it up.
and I want to say I appreciate that. And so I appreciate this tack that was taken is to, while some counties may have tried to keep this below the radar, I think standing up for our processes was the right move, and so I appreciate the way that you did that. And I appreciate that we've been communicative and made this, to Commissioner Meyer's point, to Commissioner Allenbrand's point, may this be a model of how we can all be communicative moving forward. My last question is, given that she is the complainant, would Commissioner O'Hara have the opportunity to recuse herself from the vote next week?
Yes,
Okay.
you probably should, since she's the complainant.
And while under our rules of order, we cannot request her to do so, or cannot force her to do so, I would sure make that request of Commissioner O'Hara, but again, that's to her own discretion.
Thank you. But even though I am the complainant, I am to answer the questions that has been submitted. And then the question.
I don't know the answer to it. It said all commissioners, so it's again, written in a manner that maybe they were thinking from the public, so we wouldn't be in this situation. But I would write one. It's consistent with what you put in the back of the letter, but if you could,
Right.
even if you even say already respond, I mean, I would just, if my opinion, I just want to be in compliance, I would answer it.
Okay, and then the questions that you have provided for us to answer, they're exact questions from the Attorney General's office?
No, Chair, as I had indicated earlier, I took their questions and I elaborated on them because I think they should have asked more. If I had a witness on the witness stand and I want to know what everybody said in the room, what was going on. They were worried about attorney-client privilege. We don't have attorney-client privilege. This was a personnel privacy. You're going to talk about your employees publicly, which has been going on in public comments regardless. So at this point, At this point, we're just wanting to know what people talked about to a degree to see if they went off. I'm training. I added about different trainings because I wanted to joggle your memory. It isn't just Steve Howe giving a training. You get training through rules of order when we're in here, CAL, special meetings. We're talking a lot this year about coma, and actually better because a training just sits there with a PowerPoint, next, talks this. You're actually hearing live discussions about issues.
Have you received permission from the AG's office to alter their questions?
Well, if you read the letter, it says, I'm in charge of the investigation to the chief counsel. So as part of the chief counsel, I took their questions and added on to them. So I asked additional, and if you look at them, it's very minimal what I added. It's for clarification.
But wouldn't it behoove you to ask permission of the Attorney General's office to add on to their questions? This is just a question.
I'm not going to go any further with this line of questioning because I find it, I'm just trying to do my job, and I feel I've done what I feel is the best, is very minimal revisions. If you have a question of the objection, you can put it on your questionnaire.
Yeah, I would think that we would be answering the questions as written by the Attorney General's office, and I'm just
Okay, well, let me give you a clarification. Here's one. If you were to answer it the way they asked the questions, they said the Board of County Commissioners are to respond to this questionnaire. It also says in the letter that the two people who were present in an executive session also had to sign. So if I took the questions as they wrote them, which I left it with Commissioner, they wanted them to answer the same questions of you as commissioners when they're not commissioners. If I take it to the fullest of what they said in their letter, if you look at the open, it's directing me. I'm writing you in your capacity of chief counsel, and if you are no longer the chief counsel, we would appreciate if you would forward this letter to the attorney who currently handles. Commissioner Hire, and I'm reading this letter, we have enclosed a copy, and then it goes on that we have concurrent jurisdiction with the DA. We hope that we're working with you as the chief counsel, we may complete our investigation quickly and without the use of more formal discovery methods authorized by statute, such as subpoenas or testimony. I don't know if you read this letter, but it goes on, to assist in our review, we would appreciate your board doing this, and it gave this. Additionally, please answer the following questions and provide the requested information. If you would read this letter, compare it with the questionnaire, it's almost verbatim, those questions to you. I added on additional information as to who said what back in the executive session, and added on for clarification what they were trying to ask in an awkwardly worded question. I think it was number 2. They have it was written, I think, for generally from a public asking, not that a commissioner would be complaining. There's nothing wrong with the commissioner, that's your right. I'm just trying to say these questions had it open to interpretation. And to keep calling the AG, what did you mean? What did you mean? I mean, I know other people have busy schedules. I don't think this is going to take a rocket scientist to figure it out what to answer. Just saying.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Trent, I appreciate you looking after us, because I don't think anybody ever intends on doing something wrong, and I just want you to know I've served on a lot of different boards, and things are done differently. So I appreciate all the training you've done, the cheat sheets, and helping us get through this. But I appreciate you going the extra mile to get it cleared up, and then it's cleared up, and we can just move forward and try to get to county business.
All right. Well, we will see. Everybody get your response or your individual questionnaire in by tomorrow at 5. We will see the hybrid joint response on the agenda next week. Thank you, Ms. Trent and your team. With that, that's all the items for agenda review. We are adjourned in agenda review. If you'd wait a minute and let the clerk open the business meeting, we have a motion at that time.
Oh, we have something else.